Hey everyone, this is Devil Kick Sanji, and this is going to be a different kind of video. Now, the controversy of 2017's Death Note by Netflix is still kind of fresh in people's minds, and I see a lot of different arguments. People either hate it because it is a piss-poor adaptation of the original source material. Some people kind of praise it for trying to take the original in a different direction, while others are kind of just down the middle. But the one thing that I keep on noticing is that people keep on looking at it strictly as an adaptation. And now, while it is an adaptation, at least I want to say that's what the creators are saying, there are little hints in this movie that make it seem a little bit more not as it seems, at least for me. So, it got me to wondering, are we watching or looking at Netflix's Death Note the wrong way? One of the first things I saw when I was seeing the movie, and this was just like the very first time, and I was very taken aback by this, I noticed during the Japanese scene where the L was first introduced and we see a Japanese report, the subtitling said, "Lord Kira has returned to punish the wicked." And that raised a red flag for me. I kept thinking, wait a second, returned? The fuck does that mean? This is supposed to be the first time that Kira is even a thing. So where the heck did this returned to punish the wicked come from? And note, this was in Japan, where all of this first started. So it got me thinking, could this be a secret sequel to the original show? Now, I know some people may be saying, no, there's too many contradictions, there's too many plot holes. But I have some ways of thinking about these little inconsistencies in a somewhat rational way that, at least for me, helped me actually enjoy the movie for what it was, and not for what people wanted it to be and thought it was trying to be. Now, one of the other things that kind of raised a red flag for me was this version's Whammy house. And really, it's not Whammy's house. It's, I think, St. John's or something. The place that the current L, was trained at. And that got me thinking. The original Whammy's house was in Europe, I want to say. And, it was a very bustling area. Mello and Near were there. They were young. And it got me thinking, well, what if America had their own version meant to mirror Whammy's house as a way to make more great detectives? So, it would stand to reason that, kind of like a franchise or something, they had more built. And if we try to look at it that way, it kind of makes sense that there's one in the States. But one thing that really interested me was the fact that this one was completely dilapidated. It was old, it was completely out of use, and that made me think, well, how long has this thing not been in use? So it stands to reason that if this were to have taken place after the events of the anime and manga, that would kind of make sense. It would take years for a place like this big, to fall into such disarray. And that was just starting to make me put more pieces together. Because, a lot of people also like to throw the whole, well, this isn't our L, this isn't our Light. But before I get to the character specifically, I do want to say that Light was fucking L in the second... Oh god, that took on one really weird double meaning I did not mean it to. Light took up the mantle of L in the second half of the series. So it goes to show that any person, if deemed appropriate, could take up the mantle of L. Because there's only so many alphabet, and if there was a school or something that was dedicated to training these kids, they wouldn't just run to Z and then go A1, A2, B1, B2, or Alpha, Beta, Sigma, Delta or something, I don't know. But I want to go into another thing right now that a lot of people really start to dig at the movie for. This little inconsistency people hate are the rule changes. And now, yes, I get it. I was even expecting some of the same rules to come up here too. The whole You get to write a name. If you don't write a cause of death within 40 seconds, they die of a heart attack. Now we have the whole dealer's choice spiel with Ryuk, and which I actually thought kind of interesting and a really nice change. But the one thing that I thought about is, well, Light did, for all intents and purposes, change the world. For better or for worse, that's still up for controversy, but who's to say he didn't also change the Shinigami world? I mean, we've heard about the Shinigami King, so who's to say that after the whole exploits of Light ended, the Shinigami King decided to just maybe change up some of the rules or something? I mean, we even got a bit of a return of the Death Eraser from the original pilot of Death Note, with that whole rule about if you burn a page within like 24, 48 hours, I want to say it was 48, then that person's name will thus be officially taken out of the Death Note and that person will live. Which raises all kinds of questions, because I'm just thinking, well, I mean, wouldn't this, if this thing is seen so many people using it, wouldn't this thing have already run out of pages, or does it have like replenishing pages or something? But that's another theory or whatever. So one way that I can look at it as a sequel as well is that any changes to the notebook might have just been through the Shinigami King. You know, learning from what Light was able to do with it, maybe he just tried to change a couple of them to throw a curveball at whoever next were to ever find a Death Note. But now we get to one of the things that was very polarizing for some people: the characters. Some people love to say, not my Light Yagami, not my L, not my Misa. Hell, some people are even saying, not my Ryuk. But you know what? These ain't meant to be Light Yagami, not meant to be Misa Amane, and not meant to be L. Ryuk is another story. Now, my thought process is, if this is meant to take place many, many years after the anime, Ryuk would be very bitter. He would not be a very happy death god. I mean, he was already bored at the beginning of the original. But then, the person that showed him so much interesting change died. And albeit while Ryuk did end Light's hands because the game was over, you know, whether people want to admit it or not, I have a feeling that Ryuk had a little bit of a soft spot for Light, regardless if he really liked him or not. You know, it was kind of like just having that friend who's not really your friend, but they're your acquaintance that you just kind of gotten to know for so long that you kind of can't imagine your life without him there, somewhere. And maybe he just happened to be in the States and run into another kid that was just named Light. Going through the school, saw a kid, Light? Huh, that's awfully familiar. So let me drop my notebook. Let's see what happens. Or something like that. So that's another major difference. In the original, the Death Note just happened to fall there, but in this one, it fell right at Light Turner's feet. Why specifically at him? He was chosen unlike Light Yagami. And that just made me think, could it be that he actually kind of misses his original Light? And he wanted to see if this new Light could shine just as bright as the old one? I know I may be thinking too deep into it or making up these crap theories that have no actual ground to stand on, but you know, it's just something that was going through my mind. Now we get to Mia, who a lot of people say is like the real Kira of the movie, and while I'll say I did kind of like this whole twist that it was Mia that was manipulating Light to sort of do all these bad things, but she did them in a very stupid way. I mean, Light was never really the most smart person, at least at the start, because when you really think about it, if Light had never bothered to kill Ray Penber, everything might have just ended, because if I recall, because it's been a while since I've seen the anime, Ray was pretty much about to just say, hey, Light's clean. But instead he killed him. Then everything snowballed. In this one, Mia decides to kill off all of the people in the task force, the FBI or whatever, and, well, the rest snowballs after that. So instead of Light's own hastiness being his downfall, or at least the start of his downfall, we pretty much had his pecker being the start of his downfall, like most men. But did I hate the change? I didn't hate it. It was definitely interesting, and it made Mia not a Misa clone. She was actually the much more heavier go-getter compared to Light, which shows that these are not meant to really be the same characters. These are just kids in a high school that happen to come across this supernatural item. And that's where I think is what people are always trying to hate on them, because they just want to look at these people as mirror images of their anime counterparts, when if you try to look at them as their own separate people, they can actually stand on their own as just normal people that just came across this, this item that can kill people. Yeah, they got the same sort of idea as Light, but, I think a lot of people in this day and age would just think, hey, I can kill whoever I want. Let's kill all the bad guys. And that was Light's intention. And really, that is one thing that I found very interesting, was with Light, the way that he handled the notebook, handled his meeting with Ryuk, are meant to be stark contrast, because Light tested the notebook, found out it worked, and then he went on a freaking montage of killing people that even Ryuk was surprised. But in the Netflix version, people are saying, oh, he screams like a little bitch. Sorry, headphone users, if I have any. But Light Turner just thought it was a joke. I think anyone would scream like a little bitch if they saw a fucking 7-foot-tall monster with big razor-sharp teeth. And not only that, but the way that Light Turner started to use the notebook was much more different. Yes, he started getting rid of the bad guys, but he got rid of the people that were more personal. The bully, Kenny. Oh my god! They killed Kenny! You bastards! And then that mafia or mob guy that killed his mom. And you see, that is what set up a very different branch for these two Lights. Some people just want to say it's an alternate universe, and you know what? That's perfectly fine too. I just think it's more fun to think it's just taking place after everything, especially given the whole Kita has returned mention that I did earlier. Now, L. Whoa, man, that was one that a lot of people got very polarized with. I was personally okay with him. He did a very fine job at the beginning trying to capture those same quirks and idiosyncrasies of L. And then, by the end of it, he's fucking T-1000 running after Light while his back is hunched over, and I'm like, oh god, dude, how the hell are you not just tripping over yourself? And I thought Ed from Ed, Edd n Eddy ran weird. But, again, this could be looked at as just a different person that took up the mantle of L. L has always been known as the world's greatest detective, so of course they would try to keep the name of L alive. Maybe this person just knew about the original L who fought Kita, and, just happened to have the same kind of quirks and love for candy, as if it's such a very unique quirk that someone likes candy. Yes, he sits the same as L, but maybe he was just trying out that same sort of technique to help him think 40% more efficiently, I don't know. But again, it's not meant to be our original L, it's just meant to be a different person. The same goes for Watari, and to be honest, a lot of people will scream, but how come Watari's name could be written in the notebook? That's not his real name. To which I will just say, maybe it was a double bluff. While the original Watari and L had pseudonyms, maybe this one actually was named Watari when he was born, or maybe he had his name officially changed to it. Thus, him putting his name out there on a card, his face in public, any normal person would think, oh, well, that can't be his real name. So in some ways, we could look at it as Light just having sheer dumb luck that it happened to work. Yes, it may be a plot hole. Maybe the creators didn't think about that, but you know what? Sometimes we find different ways to explain things away. I just found mine. Lastly, we got Ryuk, who a lot of people will still say whether they love or hate the film, he was one of the best parts, albeit underutilized, but I think he was there just enough. Willem Dafoe can do no wrong with this character because it was a treat seeing him every time. And unlike being the more jokey version, like in the anime, this Ryuk was a lot more sinister, and if you were to try and look at it from that whole time skip perspective, it would make some sense too, because he was very bored. So of course he'd be a little bit jokey and have a little bit of fun while he's in the human world getting apples, which were kind of new to him. And maybe the reason why he's not eating the apples, like, core and all, and just kind of throwing them away, which almost got me thinking, why the hell does nobody notice all these apples around, and who the hell's buying them all? Or is Ryuk just kind of going to the store and just kind of taking a whole bag of them and shit and just walking out the door, and people are like, yeah, 911, I see some shit! But regardless, he's not eating them because of, again, he had a good fill of apples throughout his years in the original anime. So I think the apples were there more to fill a quota of sorts that, Shinigami love apples and stuff like that. So, I mean, again, I'm reaching, but that's my explanation. Now, people are already just hissing at the idea of a sequel, to which I say give it a chance, people. If you have not watched the Netflix Death Note, or if you did, under the impression that it's supposed to be an adaptation of the original and these are meant to be the manga/anime characters, try to look at it from that different light, pun intended. Because the journeys for both of these Lights were different. Light from the anime was sort of already becoming a sociopath before he even met Ryuk, and he was already tainted by the power of the Death Note. By the end of the 2017 version, though, all of the troubles and all of the heartbreak that Light went through eventually shaped him to become what most people would identify as the anime version of Light, but more of like a Light 2.0 version Light or something, I don't know. God damn it, too many lights! So I say, if there's gonna be a sequel, give it a shot. It is definitely gonna be interesting because both L and Light are still alive, and Light's dad, spoiler alert, knows that Light is Kira. So now that Mia is gone, who's to say that we won't get another love interest that Light in this version, the 2017 one, will try to take advantage of after he saw what Mia could do to him. So those are my 2 cents on it. Let me know what y'all think. I know this was definitely a departure from the usual videos that I make, but you know what? I had fun talking about this and getting this off my chest. I'd been commenting about this on other channels, and I just thought, you know what? I want to just get my thoughts across in a video format. Maybe people will like it, maybe people won't, but you know what? I'd sooner go into a movie and be able to see all the positives and not feel that I wasted my time, rather than going into a movie completely negatively and then hating the movie and hating myself for wasting any time. So, are we watching 2017's Death Note the wrong way? In the end, there's really no right or wrong answer. It's for you to decide. Well, this is Devil Kick Sanji, signing out. The hell was that?